Hey, third graders. Off to chapter 13. We ended it with that boy carving something into red, and we don't know what it is. So I'm hoping that we figure it out soon. Bongo was the first to see what had happened to me. She landed at the base of my trunk, head cocked. Dropping the potato chip in her beak, she cried, "I leave you alone for a few minutes, and look what happens. What on earth?" "It seems somebody mistook me for a pumpkin," I said. When she didn't smile, I added, "Because, I was carved." "For the millionth time, Red, explaining doesn't make it any funnier." Bongo flew to my lowest scaffold branch, one of my big primary limbs. She examined my injury. "Does it hurt?" "Not in the way an injury might hurt you. Trees are different that way." "I gotta do something," Bongo said. "There's nothing to be done." "You've got a major boo-boo. I want to help. You're the wise old tree. Tell me what to do." "Really, Bongo? Time heals all wounds." Bongo hates it when I philosophize, meaning philosophize means you're thinking into the future, or not into the future. You're just kind of making sense of everything. So, and really doing a good job at looking at the perspective of a lot of things. So Red is just kind of saying all we can do right now is give it time to heal. There's nothing we can do right now. And Bongo doesn't really like that answer. She rolled her eyes. At least I think she did. It's hard to tell with crows. Their eyes are like morning blackberries, dark and dewy. "I just hope my bark isn't ruined," I said. "That's my favorite side." "It's not ruined, just decorated, like those tattoos people get." Bongo nudged me with her beak. "Show me who did this. I'll get him. I'll squawk at his window in the middle of the night. I'll dive bomb him and yank out some hair." She flapped her wings. "No, better yet, I'll make a deposit on his head. I'll make a deposit on his head every day for the year." What does she mean by deposit? I didn't ask what kind of deposit. I was quite sure I knew. "Bongo dear," I said, "that won't be necessary." Bongo shifted from foot to foot, something she did when she was working out a problem. She said, "it's almost time for wishing day. Maybe this is some kind of wish, just a poorly delivered one." "Another wishing day," I repeated. It seemed like we had just had one. Had a whole year already come and gone? Days have a way of slipping past like raindrops in the river. "One more round," Bongo said, "of greedy people bugging you with their needs." "One more round of hopeful people wishing for better things," I corrected. I know exactly what I would write on mine. I would write that I wish that this virus would go away so that we could go back to school and I can see you all. But it was just one day. I understood its history and my role in it. I knew people were full of longings. A mother tugging a toddler along the sidewalk froze in place when she saw my trunk. "Mommy, what does it say?" asked the little girl, who was clutching a stuffed toy dog by his bed-railed tail. The mother didn't answer. "Mommy?" They crossed the lawn. The mother stepped close to me. "It says leave," she finally said. I wonder what that means. "Like trees have leaves?" Gently, the mother traced my cuts with her index finger. "Maybe," she answered, "maybe like that." She looked over at the two houses near me. Shaking her head, she tightened her grip on her little girl's hand. "Let's hope that's all it means." Those houses, my houses, one painted blue, one painted green, one with a black door, one with a brown door. one with a yellow mailbox, one with a red mailbox. For well over a century, I'd stared at them, prim and proper, same small size, same boxy shape, same pitched roofs and squat brick chimneys, agricultural siblings, meaning they were built the same way. So like mini houses, some houses are all built the same. The apartments that I'm in, all of our apartments are the same. Long before they were a glimmer in some builder's eye, I was here, right in the middle of things. If my roots stretched past the property line that separated them, well, that's never been my concern. Roots can be unruly. Mine explored the earth below both houses, protruded around their plumbing, anchored their foundations. I spread my shade fairly. I dropped my leaves evenly. I bombed their roofs with acorns in equal numbers. I did not play favorites. Over the years, many families had called those houses home. Babies and teenagers, grandparents and great-grandparents. They spoke Chinese and Spanish, Yoruba and English, and French Creole. They ate tamales and pani puri and dim sum and fufu and grilled cheese sandwiches. Different languages, different food, different customs. That's our neighborhood, wild and tangled and colorful, like the best kind of garden. A few months ago, a new family, Samar's family, rented the Blue House. They were from a distant country. Their ways were unfamiliar. Their words held new music. Just another transplant in our messy garden, it seemed. Except that this time something changed. The air was uneasy. The parents in the greenhouse refused to welcome the new family. There were polite nods between the adults at first, but then even those vanished. Other things happened. Someone threw raw eggs at the Blue House. That's Samar's house. One afternoon, a car passed by filled with angry men yelling angry things. Things like, "Muslims, get out!" Sometimes Samar would walk home trailed by children taunting her. I love people dearly, and yet 216 rings, and I still haven't figured them out. Our neighborhood had welcomed many families from afar. What was different this time? The headscarf Samar's mother wore? Or was it something else? As all this unfolded, busybody that I am, I kept tabs, eavesdropped, observed. I never interfered, though. Trees are impartial observers. We are the strong and silent type. Besides, what could I possibly do? I had limbs, but they could merely sway. I had a trunk, but it was rooted to the earth. I had a voice, but it could not be used. My resources were limited. So, too, as I turned out, was my patience. In our last chapter today. When you're the neighborhood Wishtree, people talk. It didn't take long for folks to learn about the ugly word carved into my trunk. People stopped to stare. They gathered in little groups. They grimaced and shook their heads and murmured. By lunchtime, the police had arrived. I am not, as it happens, a stranger to law enforcement. A pair of calico kittens resided across the street, meaning they lived in the house across the street. They love climbing up my trunk to my uppermost branches. Unfortunately, they don't love climbing back down. In the last 2 months, Lewis and Clark, those are the kittens' names, have been rescued twice by the fire department and 3 times by the police. Sandy and Max, the same police officers who'd rescued the kittens just last week, climbed out of their patrol car to check me out. They frowned. They searched the lawn for clues. They talked to passerbyers and took pictures. Bongo, I whispered. I'm an official crime scene. She was not amused. The owner of the houses, and therefore technically of me, was the one who'd called the police. Francesca, tall and thin, with short dove-gray hair, lived across the street. The blue and green houses had belonged to her family for generations. Francesca was also the owner of the 2 kittens, Lewis and Clark, my intrepid visitors, meaning his frequent visitors. With a grim look on her face, Francesca strolled across the street to talk to police. Lewis and Clark squirmed in her arms. That tree, Francesca said to Sandy, who was taking notes on a little pad, has been nothing but trouble for as long as I can remember. Francesca has never been the sentimental sort. She likes cats more than trees. To each her own. I happen to like trees more than cats. Oh, but people love the Wishtree, said Sandy. She's the police officer. She looked me up and down, although I imagine it's a lot of work for you. Every year, the day after Wish Day, I swear I'm going to be cutting that thing down, Francesca said. It was true, but I knew Francesca didn't mean it. She and I went way back. The cleanup isn't the worst of it, Francesca continued. The things people wish for, the craziness. Last year, someone wrote, I wish for chocolate spaghetti in permanent marker on a pair of underwear. Tossed it way up high. Chocolate spaghetti, said Sandy. I could get behind that. Craziness, I tell you, Francesca stared at me. It's just a tree, after all. Just a tree. Just a tree seemed a tad unfair, but Francesca looked tired and angry, so I tried not to take it personally. Sandy closed her notebook. People believe what they want to believe about trees. She stared at the newly carved word. About people, too. What now? Francesca asked. Don't know, Sandy said. The tree belongs to you, not the new family, and you've been here forever. Francesca smiled sadly. Suppose it could be me they're hoping will leave? They watched Max place a circle of yellow crime scene tape near my trunk using metal stakes. Don't think so, Francesca, Sandy said. Max joined them. He stroked the kittens, who purred loudly. One problem, in terms of prosecuting anyone, he said, is the history of this tree. It's almost May, when people leave their wishes or whatever. Hard to say for sure. This isn't part of the whole, tradition thing. He shrugged. That's assuming we figure out who did this, mind you. People are supposed to make wishes on a rag or a piece of paper, not carve it into the trunk, Francesca said. That's why back in Ireland, they called these raggy trees. Nowadays, a lot of people just tie a tag around a branch and write their nutty wishes, she shrugged. In any case, leave is not a wish. It's a threat. It certainly is, Max agreed. Francesca nodded at the cracked and buckled walkways leading to both houses. Tell you one thing, Wishtree or not, this oak is destroying the walkways, messing with the plumbing too. Roots go on forever. She shook her head. Maybe it really is time to cut it down. No more trees to rake, no more wishing day mess, no more of this unkindness. Lewis leaped from Francesca's grip and dashed for my trunk. Sandy tackled him just in time. We'll finish up our investigation in a day or two. Be out of your hair, Max said. Then you'll be free to do whatever you want with the tree. You know, Francesca said, taking Lewis from Sandy, my father almost cut this tree down years ago. My mother wasn't having it. family lore or some such thing. Soft-hearted nonsense. She sighed. Guess it's up to me. Meantime, you keep us posted if anything else happens, Sandy advised. Francesca headed across the lawn, holding the kittens close. Leave, she murmured. What a world we live in. And we will stop right there. Have a great day.